I like to film right at 7 a.m. when I first get up because that's when I'm obviously the prettiest and the most lively. Let's talk about the downside of being honest. I have noticed that a lot of people take a lot of coaxing and to get true vulnerability and honesty out of them. I was talking to someone recently with whom I've had a good long-term friendship, and this person's always upbeat, always cheery as far as how they present. And lately, I've not been so upbeat, not been so cheery. I can be upbeat. I can express joy and cheer and good positive vibes, but I have to try fairly hard to do so. I have to do so through a veil of sadness, a veil of fog. I've been in that sort of state for a while. I have little fleeting moments, but my general state is probably a 4 out of 10 on the mood scale. A 5 was totally neutral. 1 was I'm about to end it all, and 10 was like mania. I'm like a 4. Sometimes slipping into the 3s, sometimes dipping a little over 5. So, as far as this friend, I wanted to ask her how her mornings went. I wanted to know how she got out of bed. Does she have tons of energy? Does she wake up and think about her day with enthusiasm? Is she joyful? Is she dreadful? Is she fearful? Does she have anxiety? Does she experience sadness or rumination? Or is it difficult for her to get out of bed, essentially? Like it has been for me for 2.5 months now. And she said, I have a lot of dread. I have a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of sadness. And she's working through similar things that I'm working through in the morning. And I thought that was so interesting because you never know it unless you really knew her and you coaxed it out of her. Otherwise, if you asked her how she was, she'd be smiling. She would say she is great. So there's a downside to honesty. And I'm using this example with her just as like a microcosm. I'm putting that in a bubble is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to overextend it, but I also don't want to minimize the fact that I think I've noticed in my life that being raw and being honest about my mental health is a good and empowering thing, but it also comes with certain tangible consequences. One of the things I'm noticing about being entirely honest is that people can grow weary and tired of, let's just say, my evolving ebbs and flows of mood and state. And I sometimes when my mood crashes, like it has since early August when a dear friend passed away, sometimes when my mood crashes, when my mood crashes, I become different to an extent. I still think I'm me. I still think my authentic self lives with me, and I think being someone with a history of major depressive disorder and generalized anxiety and depersonalization, I think as someone with that history, I'm prone to have lapses in my mood, and I have been prone to have lapses in my drinking. But it creates two different types of me, and I think they're both me. But the me that has mental health struggles, the me that isn't so dependable, that isn't so lively, that has to work really hard to get through the day, that version of me is, I think, more stressful to be around. And there's a part of me that wonders what it would be like to not wave my freak flag so hard when I'm struggling or when things are going well, for the sake of reducing the sheer polarity of the two versions of me and how people treat me in those states. Holy fuck, I just made this an overly convoluted dialogue. What I'm trying to say is that some people can't handle when I get down and depressed. Some people can't handle the swings. Some people can't handle the fact that I have to put a lot more energy into getting through the day when I'm going through a depressive state. than when I'm in a much more upbeat, consistent state. Now, there are ebbs and flows for all of us, but there's a big difference between my day-to-day mood and then the ability to function from when I'm depressed to when I'm not. And I think I'm depressed right now. To what degree, I don't know, but I definitely think I'm depressed right now. And I'll always be honest about that. And anyone who's ever been depressed, not sad, but depressed, knows that it takes a certain type of friend, a certain type of person to hold space with you when you're like that. Because I've had some friends who like to reference all of my issues when they talk about their stresses with me, and these are just my truths. But I think some people take them on and victimize themselves for it, and maybe struggle to express what they want or what their boundaries are. And I think some people tiptoe around me when I'm having a harder time instead of just being honest, because they don't want to make things worse. And I think it must be difficult to have a friendship with someone who can be more, can output more effort when they're doing well, and who tends to withdraw a bit when they're struggling. But people who've been depressed understand the struggle of just trying to get through the day. And people who aren't, I think, can take it personal and can think that if a friend isn't reaching out as often or trying to hang out as much, that they don't care, or that they're not being a good friend. And so it also brings up an interesting topic of expectations. But there is a downside to being honest. It's no wonder that so many people show the best of themselves, particularly online, and then minimize and downplay the wild thoughts they have, the hard feelings they experience, because they don't want to be judged, they don't want to be treated differently. I think some people also don't like the outpour of support that can come with saying, man, I'm really having a hard time. And then a lot of people are like, whoa, oh my gosh, you should try this, you should try that. What can I do? You're going to be okay. Just all the advice and all the feedback that often isn't requested when you're telling someone you're not doing well. You're just telling them the truth. So I think it can be easier to just say, I'm good, everything's great, and keep distance and not let people in, because you can keep them at an arm's length in that scenario when you're well or when you're not feeling well. These are unfiltered thoughts. This is a lot of the stuff I should probably be writing in a journal. I mean, I did some journaling this morning, but oh my God, I'm half Mexican. Not sure why that's relevant, but I have these like super long nose hairs that I'm pretty sure I got from my Papa Cheo, my grandpa, mi abuelo, and I'm pretty sure they itch all the time because he's haunting me via nostril hairs. Rest in peace, Papa, by the way, which is also potato in Spanish. So I don't know if I'm making sense, but also, in the spirit of, there's a downside to being honest, like especially on a YouTube channel, I can be like riding high 1 second, struggling the next, and I think there's like an emotional whiplash for people to see these sides of me. But I think this is part of my journey, part of my mental health journey, and there is a desire to stop being honest about it because it's exhausting to go through the cycles. But I've met people that have these sort of mood cycles and life cycles too that can be more extreme, and as much as I'm ready to just like be this permanently consistent person, I don't know that that's my story, and I don't think it's cool to pretend it is. I know I do the best I can, though, and I know a lot of people lie about how they're doing, and I don't want to be one of those people. But I just have to learn how to set boundaries and not victimize myself about it, because here I am saying like, oh, there's a downside to being honest, and you might be thinking, then stop fucking posting online and tighten up your circle, which would be my own advice to me if this was really a problem. So I think I'm more just venting because I believe it's the right thing to do. for me in my circumstance to continue to come on here and tell you when things are going good, when things are going less good, if I'm drinking, if I'm sober, if I'm having these crazy thoughts or these thoughts. I think there's some value in just, hey, this is how life works for me. It's my first time being alive. I'm doing the best I can, but this is my truth. But I also think in another world, there would be a lot of value in keeping my inner circle a lot tighter and keeping my general shares a lot more general. But for now, this is just the way I want to live. And there are downsides to it because people watch my videos, and then friends and family watch my videos and they have thoughts and they want to help, and they often have feedback and advice, and I didn't ask for it. And some of it's good. Some of it has nothing to do with me, and I don't want it. It's weird. Well, that was a baby rant, undoubtedly. And I just woke up. I got a little bit of coffee running through me. So I don't exactly know if this is a good post or a bad one. But I'm sure you guys will be happy to tell me in the comments below. Also, just be like, yeah, I get what you're saying. This makes sense. Or, nah, dude, the coffee and the current state you're in equals a weird, strange post that doesn't compute for me. I'm at peace with that too. Thank you for listening. Adios.